I tell you, there's nothing like good, clean, crisp edges in the landscape. Hey, it's Pete, GCI Turf. Hope you're having a good day. And you know, them clean edges in a landscape, man, they make a big difference. I'm telling you, ain't nothing like riding up to a property, checking it out, and you got all these nice, tight corners, clean edges, clean, crisp lines. To me, it really sets things apart. We've already talked about how to do your bed edges, meaning where your mulch or your pine needles meet the grass. That's what I call a bed edge. And you can see how nice and tight that is right there. Something else we've talked about is how I prefer to edge my concrete. This would be beside a concrete driveway, a concrete walkway like this, and you can see that nice tight edge right there. Now I would imagine a bunch of homes in America, across America, have this asphalt. That's typically what they use to pave a road. Well, you can see mine are a little bit bushy. Well, I want this same clean edge here as I get in my beds and against my driveway. Now, one thing I might do a little bit differently than most folks, if you do it different than this, that's completely fine. Our maintenance crews do it this way as well. Now, on my concrete, we edge it every week. Every time we make a visit, every time I mow my yard, I edge my concrete. The only thing that would hinder me or stop me from doing that is the weather. If it gets hot, dry, and the grass isn't growing quite as good, I'm not gonna edge my concrete as often. Now I manage the edges on my beds a little bit differently. I don't quite do them every week, but I do them every other week. And there's a reason for that. This is it. Using the string trimmer, I'm not the greatest in the world with it, okay? So I have a tendency, is if I edge on a weekly basis, I have a tendency to bring this edge out, okay? You follow me? I don't want that edge, I don't want this gap to get any bigger. I want this grass line to be butted right up against the needles, mulch, mini nuggets, whatever you got. I don't want to lose that tightness there. So in between weeks, you know, every week here, every other week here. Of course, I'm mowing, well, let me rephrase that. Maybe not every other week, but every other mowing. That's a better way to say it, because fescue, you're going to mow it about every 3 to 4 days during the springtime if you want to keep up with it, just because that's the nature of it. So every time I mow here, every other mowing here. Now my edges out by the blacktop, I'll do that the same week that I do my pine needles, which is every other mowing. Now the reason I do that is kind of a little pet peeve of mine. You know, if I'm edging my drive or my sidewalk every week, my pine needles every other week or every other mow, and the blacktop gets edged the same time I do my pine needles, that particular mow, I'm edging everything. I'm doing my sidewalk, I'm doing my pine needles, and out here by the road. And those are the weeks things are really looking good. Say, Pete, how come you ain't edged this yet? It's middle April. Well, I got reasons, and here's one. These edges have all the issues. Okay, usually if you're gonna get weeds, usually they're gonna come up in the first 12 inches. Well, why is that? Simply because this asphalt, the dirt beside this asphalt gets hotter and heats up quicker than, say, the dirt out here in the yard. Well, why is that? Well, asphalt conducts heat and it radiates over to this dirt. And so what happens is it breaks down your pre-emergent earlier than, say, the pre-emergent will break down over here. And when that happens, you have no control right here. And so sometimes you may get some weeds pop up here and there. Well, I want these edges as thick and as dense and as lush as I can possibly get them to help control the weeds along the edges. That way I'm combating against that natural thing that's just going to happen. You know, it's going to get hot in the summer, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. And that's going to happen. That pre-emergent is going to break down. So I'm going to do everything in my power to combat against that by keeping these edges thick. So that's why I have let this get nice and bushy before I attempted to do this. Now, once I do this, now the last time I edged was probably Thanksgiving week. So it's been since Thanksgiving to mid-April, and I've allowed this to grow since then to fill out, thicken up, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm gonna do, you know, the edge of the concrete's way back here. Okay, it's probably a good 2 inches back there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my string trimmer first and cut the bulk of this away. Okay, so I can see what I'm doing. I want to be able to see, I want to be able to see that crack and where the asphalt meets the dirt. So let's do that, and then we'll show you the next step. All right, so see how crooked that line is? Now you know why I use a stick edger blade. All right, so next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tighten this up with the actual stick edger. And I'm gonna probably take 2 passes to do this. I'm gonna go down through here and cut some back and try to find where the dirt meets the asphalt. And then I'm gonna blow it off so I can see good. And then I'm gonna repeat that process. So now I can see where the asphalt actually meets the grass. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. Okay, follow me on this. This is not a perfectly straight edge. Kind of like, you know, your driveway, your concrete on your driveway, where it's a nice, straight, even edge. You don't get that with asphalt. It's a lot of variations. It kind of goes in and out, little bumps and cracks and dips here and there. So, you know, this is something you have to kind of practice on. You have to get good with it and let that stick edger blade just barely brush up against that asphalt all the way down on the inside portion of it. And you'll kind of create a little groove right there, just like we do with our driveway. Well, there you go. There's your nice, tight, clean edge along the blacktop. Now, another thing I bet you're wondering is, hey Pete, how come your edges are so thick? A lot of the roads and along roadsides and a lot of along edges of asphalt, it's hard to get them thick. Well, you have to work extra hard right here when you aerate and seed. I do double, triple, quadruple passes along my edges. Where I might do a double pass on the yard, I'll do a quadruple pass here and just really tear it up. Get a lot of good seed to soil contact here. Maybe put a little extra seed along my edges where I wouldn't do that in the yard. When I'm doing my fertilizer applications, my RGS, my biostimulants, everything I do a little bit more, say, in about about 2 foot off, 1 to 2 foot off. You don't have to be super duper precise with that. I do a little bit extra work to my edges. It's that simple. see how this looks now. Noticeably different. Good and tight, crisp. Got a good 90 degrees coming straight up and over. Boy, I like it. Whoop. Now, Pete, what do you do about this? Well, what I do is I just basically spray it with Roundup. That's it. Now, if they were to where I could pull them up, I would pull it out. That stuff's rooted. And all that is where when you're putting your grass seed out, yeah, a couple of little seeds may get out and get in these cracks down here and they germinate. It is what it is. So I just spray them with Roundup. See, here's a big old chunk right here. Look at this, how this grass kind of goes all the way around. Well, as soon as I get this edge nice and defined and I've got clean separation from my turf and this, I'll just take and hit that with a little bit of Roundup. Once it turns brown and yellows up, I'll take my weed eater or my stick edge and just kind of mow that down to the ground and lose it. Now, hey, you got to remember now, if this is your first time doing this, you need to be patient with it. It usually takes me 2 or 3 edgings when I first get started. It takes me 2 or 3 edgings to actually get this groove cut in here and get this thing super tight and super crisp. You got to remember, this isn't a dead straight edge like along your sidewalk or your driveway. It's not molded or formed concrete, so it has a little bit of wiggle in it. So just be patient with it, you'll get it. Hey, I appreciate you watching. If you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe, tell all your buddies about it. And hey, get your edges right. We're gonna do this all summer.